This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. It is General Leia Organa Saturday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After, of course, we have chanted the meditation classics, Pure Golden Ore, summarized by Cuckoo's Song of Pure Presence. We'll start with Pure Golden Ore. Okay, here we go. The luminous mind of Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing, is inexpressible beyond conceptualization. As the light of the teacher, Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or extolled by all. As the heart of experience, Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or like gentle prince. The archetype of insight and letting go, also known as Manjushri. One moment, if you please. Okay, so please bear with me. I'm having a moment of inspiration that I'm looking forward to share with you. Okay, here we go. No, first thing is I got to make sure this fits on the page, and it doesn't. So I'm going to click that button and cross my fingers and hope for the best. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Copy. Home. Paste. Slide. Delete. And verify. Cowabunga. Okay, cats and kitties, let's check this out. The luminous mind of Hatha Yoga is noticing the antics of mind and relaxing into its non-graspable nature, is inexpressible beyond conceptualization. As the light of the teacher, Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or extolled by all. As the heart of experience, Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or like gentle prince. The archetype of insight and letting go, also known as Manjushri. Resting in the spontaneous pleasure of the effortless great completion known as Hatha Yoga, Treksho Dzogchen or Sutra Mahamudra. As the basis of all disciplines such as moral conduct. Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or like a Buddha's mother and all universal path. Without noticing and relaxing, enlightenment could not manifest. We and all our perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. All the way of supreme liberation. Okay, another moment of inspiration. Please bear with me. Okay, here we go. All right. That was a fun brainstorm. And now let's try it out. As the basis of all disciplines such as moral conduct, the luminous mind of Hatha Yoga's noticing and relaxing provides release in its every mode. Hatha Yoga's noticing and relaxing are like a Buddha's mother's and all universal path. Without noticing and relaxing, enlightenment could not manifest. We and all are seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. We and all are seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling, and imagining, all the way of supreme liberation. Subtle and elusive, this universal path of Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing, transcends the duality of thinking and non-thinking, without location or reference and determinant. Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or beyond all conceptualization. Unutterable Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing to have. Unutterable Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing, seem to have no color or shape, intangible and inscrutable in all sensory field. Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing or inexpressible. However, whoever follows a path of the ancient ascetics becomes sick from attachment to that contrivance of focusing. The literal interpretation of the teacher's instructions is experienced as an arduous quest, as they chase a stream of beliefs and concepts as if pursuing a mirage. For this complete modality of Hatha Yoga's noticing and relaxing cannot be indicated by mere words, and any rigid, fearful or elitist grasping at so-called true doctrine makes a travesty of Dorje Sempa, the archetype of Hatha Yoga's simple practice of noticing and relaxing. Purity and impurity is one inseparably mixed. The pristine awareness of Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing, as well as bewilderment or indivisible. This lamp of unimpeded clarity free of conceptualization, along with obstinate befuddlement, in and of themselves each feed sovereign samadhi. This eye of direct insight, seeing directly, sees merely an empty nothing, and it is called the Buddha eye of omniscience. Yet it is called the Buddha eye of omniscience. So know the empty nature of vastness without center or boundary, for here lies undiscriminating sovereign sameness. The luminous mind of Hatha Yoga is noticing and relaxing, as well as their habits are one inseparably mixed. All manifested experiences are merely generated by mind, and China's adornment neither accepted nor rejected, so simply let it be and enjoy. Even activity that is personally repugnant or culturally taboo, such as the 5 mental poisons of dread, desire, delusion, jealousy, and pride, or the 5 so-called unforgivable crimes of murdering one's murdering one's mother, murdering one's father, murdering one who has mastered awareness and letting go, assaulting one who has also mastered love and letting go of religious divisiveness, could feed the realization of sovereign sameness. For on this path of centered spontaneity and purification, nothing is rejected, not even sex. One's intellect could be harmfully conditioned by the elitism and rigidity of tradition and literalism, such as the three contrived analogues of samadhi's awareness, bliss, and love, as well as the dogmatic belief and doctrine, which are the delusions that undermine effortless transmission. Instead of such folly, let us abide in the spontaneous pleasure of the truly free from great completion known as Ati-yoga, Treksha, or Dzogchen. The core of sublime spontaneous awareness, imperturbable and changing and unelaborated, which is the ambrosia of the timeless consummation of the yogi's spontaneous awareness and centered ease. Avanti yoga spontaneous awareness and centered ease that vanquishes the pain of any exertion, thus resting in the here and now. Every ambition is spontaneously fulfilled. Hey, magnificent one, listen all in everything in experience, which shares the same empty nature of the luminous mind of Avanti Yoga's noticing and relaxing, is like an all-inclusive essential drop incapable of being controlled by the dualities of elaboration or concentration, expansion or contraction, generation or cessation, unconfined is simply being. This inconceivable essence of Bhakti Yoga's noticing and relaxing, chronologically always present like the sky, locationally everywhere present like space, transcends ideas and speech. Now, that was a lot of thought over the last 44 pages. We're going to summarize it over the next 2 pages. The nature of multiplicity is non-dual, and things are naturally pure and simple, being contrivance-free in the here and now, shining out in all forms, it is always all good. Thus already complete exertion is now redundant, and love-centered spontaneity ever natural. Having completed our opening chanting, we could now shift gears. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, well, give me a second here. 55 minutes minus 20 minutes is 35 minutes, minus 1 is 34 minutes, divided by 3 is, let's call it 11. Okay, so 3 sets of 11 minutes of meditating. During our first set of 11 or 12 minutes, let us gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce behind our navel. To do that, we're going to use 2 very easy yet effective methods. The first is just using the tip of our left ring finger to support the larger knuckle, the larger knuckle at the base, the lower knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, palms up, in our lap. The second technique is by emphasizing the interface of body and breath. Here's how we do that. Every time we feel the diaphragm just south of our rib cage pulling down during our inhalation, silently and mentally we can recite the verb noticing. To the contrary, every time we feel our diaphragm reset during our exhalation, silently and mentally we can recite the verb relaxing. So by playing with our fingers and playing with our breath, meditation becomes much easier. As we sit and notice, as we sit, we could vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice the mind's sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Everything. From the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. Every time we exhale, we are already wired to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel a trifle less stressful, a trifle less permanent, a trifle less defining. At least for a moment, until our next inhalation, when the cycle begins afresh. This free fall of noticing and relaxing can trigger our controlling tendencies and the fear that we might close our eyes for what seems like a moment, only to open them and find that we, like Rip Van Winkle, have lost a century. A useful tool to cope with this is counting upon the creases of our fingers. Let us, in addition to using our left finger to support our right, we could touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases on its little finger, thus keeping track of our first set of 12 inhalations. How do we count the actual 12 inhalations? For that we use our right hand. While we silently and mentally recite the verb noticing during our inhalations, we can slide the tip of our right thumb up the various, across the creases of its fingers. Let's do this together right now for the next 12 inhalations. As you can see, I've run out of creases on my right hand. That means the left thumb at the base of my left little finger now advances to its next set of creases. And so I think you can kind of get now how we can count 12 sets of 12 inhalations each. Bearing in mind, it takes about a minute and a half to count 12 inhalations. So going back to the way that our left little finger supports the lower knuckle on our right ring finger. I'm sorry, our left ring finger supports the lower knuckle on our right ring finger. Think of this as our first collection of 12 sets of 12 inhalations. There will most likely be 2 more collections. When Zen Master Dogen uttered the phrase, "just sit," he was not speaking literally, but figuratively. Here is what he meant. It is not our job to concentrate or contemplate, to practice belief or ritual. It's our job to simply notice and relax as we sit and breathe. What do we do when our mind wanders? Enjoy the show. What we call wandering is our mind processing the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. This processing, although not always comfortable, is necessary if we are to maximize the peace and the love that define us. Some people ask, is not silently and mentally reciting, noticing, or relaxing a contrivance? No, it is not. We notice as a function of the hub of our sympathetic nervous system, in the middle bit of our spinal cord. We relax as a function of the tippy top and the very bottom of that same spinal cord, which together as a team are described as the hub of our parasympathetic nervous system. Like an app running in the background on your smartphone, the actions of our autonomic nervous system take place involuntarily within the jungle of our central nervous system. Why then do we play with words? To align our intention with our autonomic nervous system, so we can take a relaxing break from the exhausting habit of actively competing against our own autonomic nervous system, instead passively cooperating with it. We are like kitty cats. Sometimes we sleep, sometimes we awake, sometimes we eat, sometimes we drink. Sometimes we cooperate, sometimes we bicker. Sometimes we have zoomies, sometimes we sit and just rest in our sitting. All anthropods can lay and stand and walk and sit. Life is busy. It can be therapeutic to set aside some time, once every 12 hours or so, to just sit and restore our factory settings. So if sitting and breathing and noticing and relaxing are not a contrivance of meditation, then what is? Concentrating on one thing to the exclusion of everything else is a contrivance. Repressing our mind's activity is a contrivance. A contrivance that does great harm. A contrivance that so exhausts the front of our brain that we can begin presenting with symptoms of depression, no less triggering our amygdala, the pea-sized organelle which functions as the seat of both anxiety and aggression. That is the contrivance which the author is warning us against. Other contrivances would be chasing bliss or chasing visualizations, no less rituals. Our job is not to chase visions nor flee from them, but to notice whatever comes up and relax as best we can during each exhalation. If we enthusiastically practice simply noticing and relaxing, the Buddha assures us we can master his path in as little as 7 days. We've only covered 6 sets of 12 inhalations each because I've done so much jibber jabbering. The 2 methods we're going to use to gently invite our subtle energy to coalesce at our crown. And we do this not to chase bliss, but just to optimize our bodies for sitting. I'm juggling many disabilities, and I found that working with this energy helps me to stay awake. So when it comes to our fingers, let us use the tip of our index finger this time, not our ring finger, but our index finger, to support the lower knuckle of our right index finger, not the ring finger, but the index finger. Palms up in our lap. As we feel air enter our nostrils, let us silently and mentally utter the phrase or the word noticing. As we feel air exit our nostrils, let us silently and mentally recite the verb relaxing. I misspoke. We performed 7 sets of 12 inhalations each on the previous gesture, not 6. We come to the final third of our silent meditation. Oh, look, questions. Okay, so Honey wrote, "Hi, brother. Sorry for being late, but because of time difference, it were difficult to match the timing. I want to ask you what to do for self-realization." Excellent. Good question. By the way, um, about 6 months of the year, my time zone is -7 GMT. The other 6 months, it's -8 because America's weird and it's not being evil. So right now, that's the easiest way to find me is -7 Greenwich Mean Time. So, what is self-realization? Correct, you are. So let's get back to what is self-realization. So to do that, I'm going to rapidly use many visual aids because there's not much time left in our teaching session this morning. If you speak to a good archaeologist, they will agree that there is substantial evidence to suggest that our Paleolithic ancestors enjoyed a type of proto-communism that promoted individuals being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. For we have unearthed cadavers, remains of people who had been horribly injured as children and yet lived into old age because they were taken care of by their community. That was beautiful. Approximately 13,000 years ago, that changed. That was turned on its head. During the Neolithic Revolution, our ancestors endured a type of proto-capitalism that conditioned individuals to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. In our underbrain, we have two systems. The dopamine system rewards for hedonism, for finding water when we're thirsty, food when we're hungry, warmth when we're cold, shade when we're hot, for finding sexual partners, and for defending our bodies against life and death situations. We also have an oxytocin-oriented system in our underbrain that rewards for kindness and cooperation. The dopamine system can make us feel many things, but it can never make us feel fulfilled. Only the oxytocin reward system can. Living under Yang's religious or irreligious patriarchy, it's constantly triggering our dopamine system, causing us to ignore our oxytocin system. Enlightenment is simply mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. But what do we mean by mastery? Mastery means we get so good at something that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. As children, we mastered using the toilet instead of our diapers, brushing our teeth, tying our shoes, riding a bike, learning the language of our parents, reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have evolved as a species to be mastery machines. Simply by playing with mindfulness and meditation every 12 hours or so, we spontaneously we notice impermanence and non-graspability. simply by playing with mindfulness and meditation once every 12 hours or so, we become kinder. And that kindness is seen in our intentions, our communications, our conduct, and even our commerce. And that is the second through fifth folds of the Eightfold Path. The more we notice and relax in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation, the more our choices and utterances and deeds flow, not from calculated contrivance, not from wild scatteredness, but from love's deeply centered spontaneity. This centered spontaneity is sometimes described as right effort or effortless effort or wu wei or doing without doing or going with the flow or being in the zone or expedient means. The key to mastering these 6 folds of the path is simply to play with the 7th fold, which is mindfulness, and the 8th fold, which is meditation, about once every 12 hours or so. That is why the Buddha explained in the second to the final passage of his discourse on the 4 bases of mindfulness that one could master this path of enlightenment, in as little as 7 days. Contrary to the ravings of patriarchy, which delights in making things more difficult, more complicated, and more violent, it doesn't take lifetimes, it doesn't take decades, and it's not about stopping ourselves from feeling certain things. It's about becoming the peaceful, loving, well-adjusted people that our dogs already think we are. So you heard the alarm go off. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. For Meditate Like a Jedi is made possible thanks to the generosity of viewers just like you. In about 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening recitation, explanation, and practice of meditating like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.